Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurnas Fakilah binti Mahazam, and I and my crewmates Muhammad Zarif, Ahmad Akil, Muhammad Firdaus, and also Karul Kaida will present to you about importance and current issues in managing personal financial statements and budgeting and also investment planning. Personal financial statement consists of preparing two financial statements, which are balance sheet and cash flow statement. A personal balance sheet is a statement that measures a person's wealth or determines a person's or family's financial standing. It consists of three elements such as assets, liabilities, and net worth. Meanwhile, a cash flow statement is a detailed breakdown of cash income and expenses over a specific time period. A personal budget is a plan that outlines a person's financial goals and how he spends his money. When we are preparing the budgeting, there will be two things that need to be done, which are master budget and the expense plan.
Importance of managing personal financial statements and budgeting. When finance is mentioned, it usually refers to the financial management of an individual. Personal financial statements, however, show the net worth of an individual, which in turn reveals the amount of cash the individual were to have if they were to sell off all their assets and pay off all their debts. An individual will have a negative net worth if their total liabilities are greater than the total assets, and the opposite will happen when the total assets are greater than the liabilities, hence indicating that the individual has a positive net worth. When an individual is up to date with their financial statements, they would have the ability to trace and figure out their financial health, whether it is deteriorating or improving. With this knowledge, it would assist when the individual would like to change their financial situations when the situation deemed to be necessary. These situations could be an application for a car loan or a housing loan. Certain individuals' knowledge on money may be limited to only spending it. However, with proper financial management and budgeting skills, you will be able to keep track of your monthly expenses. Therefore, the individual will know where their money has gone. If some expenses are deemed to be non-essential, then the individual will just cut off the expenses before it becomes larger in total. In turn, when you forego certain non-essential expenses, you will be able to place additional money into your savings. And finally, with the proper use of management of your personal financial statements and budgeting, an individual would then be able to establish a clear goal regarding their finances. For instance, an individual will be able to figure out whether their financial goals are either realistic and attainable or not. If it is not realistic, they would then be able to update their strategy so that the best strategy is in use to achieve their goals. As an example, if one wishes to achieve a higher amount in their savings, they will then cut back on certain expenses by keeping track of it.
Hi, now we will move to the current issue in managing personal financial statements and budgeting. So the coronavirus epidemic has continued to pose corporate and economic risks. Many governments have declared plans to give both financial and non-financial aid to damaged industries and businesses. So financial literacy is essential for firms and their employees to be able to plan for an emergency fund. So as we all know, nations are mostly ignorant of various debt restructuring and rescheduling plans. Despite the fact that the epidemic has resulted in interim measures like loan moratorium and debt repayment help, many Malaysians are unaware of how to manage their finance effectively when they face with a job loss. We all know that Malaysians have their own personal debt, unresolved financial borrowings such as personal borrowings from a third party. Other type of debt include their vehicle loans and home mortgage. Making minimum payments is a difficulty for everyone regardless of their debt amount. It's much more vital for those with significant debts to pay more than the minimum every month. Cash advances are often accompanied with a large one-time cost in the form of a fixed rate or a percentage of the amount. the more people are customized to receiving cash advance, the less likely they are to learn how to handle their finance wisely. A credit card cash advance is sometimes merely a temporary solution to an underlying financial problem.
This is the statistical information about managing personal financial statements and also budgeting. I got this data from the Pew Research Center and the reference is as below. Back to the point, as you can see, this is the chart about saving performance during the COVID-19 pandemic in year 2021. Lower income adults who usually put money into savings are far more than likely than those in other income tiers to say that they are now saving less than usual. As you are looking at the chart, you can see that people were struggling to set aside their income to do saving during the pandemic. We can see that most people are more likely to save less or maybe same amount. It was not only affecting the lower and middle income categories, but also the upper income as well. People who are saving more during this pandemic has the lowest percentage because we know that a lot of people are losing their job or maybe experience pay cut.
Importance of investment planning. When the term investment is used, people will automatically define it as a process of investing your money into something to gain profit in the future. Investing is very crucial to meet your financial goals in life. Therefore, being adept in investment planning is also crucial so that your investment does not fail and cause loss. Investment planning assists in picking the best investment option in regards to your financial goal. There are a lot of different kinds of investment plannings to pick from, be it cash, bonds, securities, and even properties. Therefore, depending on the amount of funds available, we are able to invest our money into any form of investment plan so that our financial goal can be obtained. If an individual were to be adept in investment planning, they will be able to effectively plan their monthly expenses such as their bills, food expenses, taxes, and loans. This is primarily because the individual will be aware of how much money they make in a month from their salary, interest, and dividends. Hence, the individual will be able to not only dictate whether their current income will be enough to fulfill their financial objectives, but they will also be proficient in financial planning and budgeting. Moreover, with the help of investing, individuals are now able to maintain their standard of living. When we invest into something, it essentially creates a saving that can become a financial security net for the individual. This can be extremely useful during dire times, such as the recent COVID-19 outbreak, where certain people will not be able to go to work as a lockdown was in order. Another example is if the breadwinner of the family were to be incapacitated or die, which then affects their family's standard of living. With the use of planned investments, it basically acts as a source of income that will assist the family to recover from a loss.
Hi, next I, Muhammad Zarif, will be explained regarding two current issues in investment planning. The first current issue is illegal internet investment scheme. In this era, most Malaysians have already started to do investment planning. With an exposure about investment activities in Malaysia, most of the people are attracted to the high profit or high return when investing. There are a lot of types or ways of interest investing in Malaysia. There are people who invest in gold, unit trust, forex, shares, bonds, and more. There are also lots of platforms that can be used to do the investment. Most of it is in application and websites such as Luno, Wahid Invest, Rais, Hello Gold, eToro, and more. Some people are just unlucky because a high risk investment will lead to high profit or it can be major losses. Since investments are getting popular in Malaysia, most people are trying their luck in investing. Unfortunately, there are a lot of investment scams happening these days. Scammers tend to capitalize on fears and hardship stemming from major crises like COVID-19 outbreaks to manipulate vulnerable and unsuspecting among members of the public. In June 2019, Bukit Aman arrested 9 individuals with suspicion of being involved in investment schemes involving losses amounting to nearly 1.9 million around Kedah, Kuala Lumpur and Johor. The schemes are the Banker Capital Investment Scheme (BKC) and Wow Exchange OU Investment Scheme. According to Bukit Aman, their syndicate convinced their victims that their money will be invested in the domestic and foreign investment sector and promises them a high return with a profit rate between 100% and 400%. These schemes are advertised through social media. The second issue is how pandemic affects to investor decision. During pandemic COVID-19, all the three sectors are affected. All investors in Malaysia are facing a problem about their investment plans. Meanwhile, the beginner and intermediate investor do not really do research about the situation before investing. In addition, 51% of Malaysians are invested in low-risk asset investments such as in Amanah Saham Bumiputra, ASB, Tabung Haji and more. As a result of pandemic COVID-19, 88% of non-retired people would like to save more for their retirement. Next, I will explain regarding to the statistical information about investment planning. Stocks were the most popular asset type among Gen Z and millennial investors, accounting for almost 2/3 of all respondents. Millennials were marginally more likely than Gen Z members to buy equities. More than half of our respondents were not invested in any other form of asset. Mutual funds were the second most popular kind of investment among investors aged to 18 to 40, accounting for 45% of those polled, while members of Generation Z were more likely than millennials to own equities. Millennials were more likely than Gen Z investors to own mutual funds. 47% of millennial investors reported owning mutual funds, compared to just 35% of Gen Z. Cryptocurrency was regarded by 40% of respondents to be the third most popular sort of investment, surpassing bonds, options, index funds, ETFs, and other types of assets. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
So to be concluded, the epidemic is driving individuals to see that financial literacy is a necessary survival skill. One important component is having enough financial knowledge to construct an emergency fund. Consult with a competent financial advisor to adequate help on developing a financial plan. A good financial plan, regardless of your salary or aspirations, may set you up for life.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Firdaus bin Muhammad Kamal and I will explain on the recommendation for personal financial statement and budgeting. Firstly, it is recommended for people to firstly educate themselves on managing their own money. And this is because other people will try to manage the money, and as an example, financial advisors that are unethical will have terrible intentions. Other than that, family members who will make general comments about the need of owning your own home. So, instead of relying on inadequate suggestions, it is recommended for people to take control of their financial planning. Next, understanding how the income tax works. Before receiving the first payment when working, people need to determine whether the pay will provide enough money after taxes to pay their financial obligations, and with careful planning to accomplish the savings and retirement goals. You do not have to pay tax specialists unless you have a really difficult financial situation. Next, limit the unbudgeted spending. The money left after deducting all the expenses from the income can be utilized for enjoyment, but make sure that it is only in specific amount. It is not good to overspend on the money, especially if it is not much and it needs to last for the entire month. Before making any purchases, especially major ones, double check to make sure that it will not collide with any other things that has been planned. Moving on, for investment, firstly, it is recommended for people to invest in adequate insurance to protect them from large losses in finance. This can happen due to the death of the household earner. Next, stay informed of the assets that are being invested. Before making any investment decision, make sure to know and collect as many information on the asset that will be invested in order to protect from the risk of losing all the money invested. Make a comparison on the best fit for your investing profile. People must be careful on the information they collected in order for them to avoid being scammed. Furthermore, for those who wanted to invest, be aware of the risk that they are willing to take. For people who just started to invest, they should put their money into investment instruments that has less risk, like fixed deposit, and for risk taker, it is recommended for them to put their money into higher risk investment. It is crucial to make risk-taking analysis in the investment process. Next, people need to become familiar with the financial market's investment alternatives. They must compare the rates of return and the risk associated with the investment instruments. Nowadays, there are websites where people can learn about the investment and also to compare the rate of return and the risk. This will help to avoid traps by the intermediaries who profit from the sale of the investment. And that's all from me. Thank you.